Welcome back, everybody, to Roman Reads an Audiobook. I've been enjoying this so much. I did have to take a couple days off. Once again, I work Friday through Sunday, 12 hours a day. By the end of those days, I have to choose between sleep or recording, and unfortunately, I still got to get up the next day. I would love nothing more than to be able to read this for you guys consistently, so I think I'm going to be able to record quite a few episodes in the next few days, and hopefully be able to have them continue posting out. Also, I came into a little bit of a error with DaVinci Resolve, the editing software I use, but everything is cleared up. I was able to get We Were Here 2 out with Wander. Please go check him out. He's got some wonderful content. Hylix. He recently started posting that, and I think he's already finished in terms of, actually playing the game. He's just got to upload the pieces now. That is a nightmare DMT trip if I've ever seen one. But for now, we get back into the life and suffering of Sir Roman Brante. We pick up in his adolescence at 12 years old. Give it a little bit of time to load. Why is it still frozen? Sorry about that, everyone. We're back into it now. The game just crashed for a moment, but it looks like it's good again. Finally, the day comes when the teacher stopped coming to the house, but before you can breathe a sigh of relief and put away the books, Father asks you to come to his study. You've grown, my son. It's time for you to continue your education away from home. I've chosen a deserving school for you, Sir Tiber's School for the children of noblemen and well-off commoners. Naturally, it is not a boarding school for nobles, so you will study there during the day and come home in the evening. You share the news with your best friend Thomas. Sir Tiber's School, eh? Yeah, I gotta ask my parents to send me there too as soon as they get the coin together. Father says his workshop is toiled day and night for years to save up for my education. Okay, that was a little bit loud. Hopefully, I can go ahead and reduce this on my end real quick. Fix that again. These headphones work really well. That's a good and bad thing for me. The school is based in an ancient estate of Arcanian design. The classrooms are tall and spacious with massive benches. The sounds of scraping quills and lectures on history and imperial law and theology echo under the vaulted ceilings. The rules are strict, the lessons tiring. Restless Thomas keeps getting distracted, and several times he gets his hand slapped with a stick for it. Every teacher demands flawless mastery of their subject. Every day, Father asks you about your studies. You have already told him twice how Magra joined the Empire and how the nobles' court of honor is different from the commoners' civil court in the city prefecture. But Father keeps pressuring you to work even harder. When it is time to go to bed, Mother will not let you go to sleep until you recite a newly learned prayer for her. And when it is time to go to school, you promise her every day that you will behave with great humility and steer clear of insolent behavior of any kind. For you still live by the commoner's lot, and that lot is hard work and suffering. Your first month in school draws to a close, and the teachers announce that there will be exams at the end of the month to determine the best and worst students in each subject. Father insists that you devote all your spare time to studying law and history if you wish to follow in his footsteps, but when you speak to Mother every day, you start considering theology. You still remember the revelations and divine visions that came to you in your earliest years. You have only one more day until the exam. You have locked yourself away in your room. It is already getting late. Your desk is covered with handwritten notes surrounded by leather-bound books. Just looking at them makes you queasy, but you have to read through all of them again, at least for one of your subjects. There's an nagging thought on your mind. Thomas ended up in big trouble the other day. He got in a fight with several boys who live next street. They heard about your wooden fortress and gotten in outrage by the fortification built by commoners. They swore to dismantle it tonight. Thomas swore he would defend the fortress until the end. Perhaps you'd abandon the books to rescue the friend in need. But then you hear your little brother Nathan knocking at the door. He stands there shyly, not saying a word. He often does that, standing still and staying speechless until either you speak first or he runs away. But this time he actually says something. The door's locked. Are you okay, Roman? Is there anything I can do to help? Your head is spinning. This is the last evening before the school exam. If you fail, your family will be very disappointed. You have to refresh your memory on law or theology, either one or the other. But Thomas and your fort are about to be stormed. Why, today of all days? You grind your teeth in rage at the thought. Nathan is by the door, trying not to bother you. He wants to help you the only way he can, for reasons known only to him. Will you accept his help? What are our stats at currently? Destiny, nope, not quite. Alright, I feel like we need to get nobility up. Oh, wait, no, that's not what I wanted. Let's focus on law and history. You push Nathan out of the room. He cannot possibly help you prepare for the exam. Soon your eyes start to hurt from all the legal terms and chronologies and titles of imperial edicts. You repeat everything, every single line of it, until your head hurts and your vision begins to blur. When Father walks in, he chuckles in approval. You fall asleep right there, amidst the books. The morning comes. You barely have the time to wake up before you are walking to the menacing edifice of the school. Time for law. All the students sit still, glued to their benches in terror. The teacher's voice singles you out. If a commoner insults a nobleman's honor, how ought he be dealt with according to imperial law? Bring the commoner to the prefecture, where the judge will sentence him to corporal punishment. And what if a noble takes a commoner's life by negligence or whim? The noble is fined by the provincial authorities. Surprising even yourself, you give the correct answer to these questions, and the many more that follow. The next subject is the history of the Blessed Arcanian Empire. You masterfully recount the history of every province as they merged with the empire from Monia to Magra. Then you recite the names of every tempest who has ruled the empire. You conquer every question the teacher asks you without confusing a single date. You get the highest grade in law and history, and an average grade in theology. You relay the teacher's praise to Father over dinner. He smiles, pleased with you. Well done, my son. I can see how hard you've been working. Keep at it, and you will be among the Empire's greatest servants. I am proud of you. Well done, my son. I can see how hard you've been... Oh wait, this is the same. It was just the stat change. Your education continues. As you study imperial law, you come to realize that there's a certain hierarchy even within the noble estate. It seems your father's status is not quite equal to that of the more eminent human and Arcanian gentry. You return home with this new information at your disposal. Father asks you about school after dinner, as he always does. And what is the difference between nobles of the mantle and those of the sword, Roman? You already have an answer ready. The latter status is hereditary, meaning that it is passed down from father to son. After the Arcanians, nobles of the sword are the most eminent humans in the empire. They own land and estates, they fill offices of the highest ranks, and the names of their bloodlines are preserved within the Great Blue Book. Nobility of the sword can only be granted only by the overseer of the province or the emperor himself. And how are such eminent people addressed? With the honorific L before their last name, you respond. Sir Augustin L. Bourne, for example. Father pats you on the shoulder, clearly pleased. And what about the Arcanians and their status? What have you learned about them? The Arcanians stand above all human gentry. They are born to rule over humans regardless of their titles. No L is required when addressing them. They need no honorifics, for the names of their ancient dynasties are known to all. Father nods somberly. Yes, we can never be their equals. Do whatever an Arcanian tells you, and never defy them. Ever. And what about grandfather and me? Where do we stand as nobles? That is easy. Father and grandfather are nobles of the mantle. This title cannot be inherited, but it can be earned by any commoner as a reward for great service to the Empire, in the Legion, or as a civil servant. Father suddenly grows quiet and looks you in the eye intently. Yes. And someday you will earn a noble title too, son. All in due time. Sir Tiber's school teaches children of all stripes. Nobles of the mantle and low-born parents can send their sons here, and every passing day the children of noblemen invent new ways to snub and bully the commoners. Most of the time the bully leading them is Diedrich, the son of the secretary for the imperial chancellery and a self-important slob. The sons of noblemen never pick on you, however, they know that your father has been ennobled by the mantle. However, Diedrich and his retinue soon choose Thomas as their favorite victim. Time and time again, you ask your friend not to pay them any mind, but again and again, Thomas grows angry and snaps at their self-satisfied mockery. It is early morning. The students are busy, flocking to the classroom for the next lesson. You wave Thomas over when you see him. He waves back at you, and then a bucket full of slop splashes on him. Needless to say, it is the work of Diedrich and his entourage. You hear his familiar, creaky laughter. The tailor's son stinks. How dare he sit next to decent folk? Thomas clenches his fist. You're dead, Diedrich. He throws himself at Diedrich's haughty entourage like a soldier ready to wage war. He attacks them first. This is just what they expected, and they are free to retaliate. He barely makes one movement before 4 pairs of hands grab him at once. Diedrich snickers and kicks your friend in the belly. Thomas gasps for air and starts coughing. You stand between them as Diedrich readies another kick. The nobleman's son cocks an eyebrow. Why do you mingle with commoners? Your father is noble of the mantle. You ought to be friends with your own kind. Your equals. Not the dirt beneath your feet. Behind him, 4 boys hold Thomas down as he struggles furiously. The other students are watching you frozen in fear. Diedrich haughtily extends a hand to you. He clearly expects you to shake it. What will you do? Oh, I think we're ready to get into a fight. Oh, we getting in a fight today. You do not shake his hand. Instead, you challenge Diedrich to display at least some dignity by fighting you one-on-one. That is, if he considers himself a nobleman's son, of course. Diedrich's face grows serious. There is no way for him to refuse this challenge in public. Diedrich makes a sign and Thomas is released and pushed to the floor. He gets back on his feet, cursing and itching to rush at them again, but you hold your friend back. The teacher of Imperial Law comes into the room just in time. Everybody immediately returns to their seats. A day full of lessons begins. You keep daydreaming of Diedrich's face and how you are going to put an end to that nasty smile of his. Let's catch that bastard together and clean his clock. He hurt me, not you. The deal has been made, you tell your friend. This is a matter of your honor now. Thomas huffs angrily, but agrees. Diedrich is already waiting for you in a narrow back street by the school, his retinue by his side. You walk forward and give him an opportunity to end this dispute once and for all. This is the nobleman's way. If you win this battle, Diedrich and the other children of nobles will never pick on the commoner's sons again. If he wins, you will never stand in their way and protect other students. You will fight him one-on-one. Diedrich walks forward uncertainly. You both roll up your sleeves. You raise your fist in a fighting stance. Diedrich tries to copy your movements. You hit him first. Diedrich does manage to land several glancing blows, but he is fighting a losing battle. He has never been in a real street fight. Thomas nods in approval. You've learned a lot from him. It does not take long for Diedrich to stop fighting back. One more blow, and he squeals and raises his hands. You've won. You turn to the other nobleman's sons with a victorious look on your face. No more teasing. And if anyone else says so much as one bad word about Thomas, they'll pay. Diedrich's former retinue disperses silently. Ooh, forbidden love. This event is a consequence of your previous actions, for having a nobility above 4. Another day of school is behind you. You are now wandering your district, taking your time before going home. It's getting dark. Soon you are walking past the splendid mansion of Count El Velasco, one of Magra's richest landlords. You hear a familiar voice from the other side of the iron fence. It's Stefan's voice. It is followed by the sound of a young lady laughing. You peek through the fence into the mansion's garden, and indeed, there you see your elder brother, dressed like he is going to meet the Emperor himself. He is currently busy helping a pretty young lady out of the window. She locks him in an emotional embrace. You recognize her. Maria El Velasco, Count El Velasco's daughter. And as the whole city knows, she is already betrothed to another young nobleman from a far more illustrious family. Maria, I thought I would help you come down to earth from your heavenly abode, but your very touch brings me to the heavens. He picks the Count's daughter up and holds her in the air. She laughs, almost imperceptibly, and kisses him on the cheek. But then Stefan takes her by the chin and turns her to face him. Their lips join in a kiss. A flurry of emotion washes over you as you watch it happen. Stefan is putting the reputation of his entire family at risk. Acting so frivolously with the Count's daughter may turn the Count's influence against all the Brontes, and yet Stefan always speaks so highly of noble bearing, composure, and family honor. Stefan's face is glowing with joy. Your older brother, he is happy. Truly happy. You have never seen Stefan like this, as his arms hold the Count's daughter in a tender embrace, so gently as though he fears to hurt her. And Maria reciprocates his feelings. Must you really rob them of their secret joy? If you ever speak to him about this, no one else must hear it. You wait by the gate patiently until Stefan decides to return from his escapades. He is startled when he finally notices you standing by the gate. So no matter what, we get Stefan's disgrace. But this one, at least with this one, we improve our reputation with Stefan. So I feel like that's got to be it. Be true to who you are, Stefan, and what you are is a stickler for the rules, so to say. I hope that was the right choice for him. You fold your arms as you face your elder brother. He is confused to see you here. You speak to him openly. You know of his affair with Maria of Velasco, and Stefan should forget that young lady as soon as humanly possible. He freezes at these words. You keep talking. A noble cannot behave like this. Stefan is risking bringing shame on all the Brontes, and worse yet, he is defying his own lot and his own words. His honor, Maria's honor, the family's honor, it will all be harmed by his recklessness. How could Stefan have forgotten about this? How could he have let his emotions rule him? Why should you have to be there to remind a born noble about this, you who were born a commoner? Stefan frowns, but lets you keep talking. You wait for his anger, but there is none. When you are finally done speaking, your brother stays quiet for a long moment, and then sighs heavily. Yes, indeed, you're right. I lost control of myself. Maria, I'm a madman in her presence. I forget the world when I'm with her, and I've forgotten my duty to my lot and my family. I'll part ways with Lady El Velasco and offer my apologies to her father. My brother, thank you. You reminded me who I am. From that day on, Stefan stops going out at night. His attitude towards you has changed too. He now looks at you with respect, as if he has finally come to see you as an equal. Even in his anger, he is now quick to recall your brave decision and stop himself. Hopefully that brings some family unity. I feel like that's a part we're not great with yet. All of that happened in 1 year? Oh no. I'm finally 13 years old. That was a big year for me. The Silvertree. Your anthology teachers tell you more about Anazon. It is more than just the provincial capital, it is also a sacred place blessed by the gods. It is where the twin gods' first disciples spilled their blood, and from that blood grew the sacred silver tree. Its enormous foliage hangs over the city, you see its branches in the sky every day, but you have never approached the trunk of the tree yourself. Today you will be taking your first trip to the Silvertree. Your class is visiting a service in the great temple by the tree's very roots. Thanks to your theology teacher, you and the other students will witness this landmark of the twins' advent up close. Everybody is excited. Soon you and the other boys enter the slums surrounding the church district of Anazon. The roots are pulsating under your feet, they spread underground all throughout the area. Pathetic, cramped hovels and filthy streets surround the trunk of the tree. They are home to paupers, day laborers, and preachers. The people of the district bow humbly to you and point you towards the temple. They seem at peace despite the abject poverty in which they live. All who live directly beneath the tree are filled with its divine grace, your teacher says. People come here to make peace with the world and their fate in it. Your class is unusually quiet. Everyone is listening to the rustling of the leaves and the underground beating of the roots. The sky above you is obscured by the tree's canopy. You find the temple of the twin gods right next to the tremendous trunk of the tree. It almost seems a part of it. There is a crowd there, pilgrims dressed in traveling clothes, paupers and beggars, common people of the city, and the occasional well-dressed noble. There are arguments among some people who are gathered in separate small groups. Many people are wandering around, staring upward at the tree's branches. The tree impresses you with its might and the calm emanating from it. You are filled with a desire to sit down and think of the world, to learn something about yourself, to touch the silver white bark and hearken to the whispering leaves. You are distracted enough to fall back from the rest of your classmates. You noticed a small path. It should take you right next to the trunk. A tall red-haired woman walks out of the crowd of pilgrims. She is wearing a worn white robe. She is no longer young, but her face is youthful and covered in freckles. Her hands clutch a book. You have never seen this lady pilgrim before, yet she looks at you almost as if she has recognized a lifelong friend. She beckons to you and says her name, Matilda, a preacher from Astynia. What she says next shakes you to your very core. It is commendable to see a young man so keen to learn the teachings of the twins. Yet you will never follow the light of truth within the walls of the temple. Inside you will find only lies about the lots, the erring words of Prophet Isaiah, sanctified by the passages of centuries. Yet anyone who sets out to read the accounts of the twins' own lives know that they never so much as mentioned the lots. The red-haired preacher's words frighten you. They clash with everything you have heard from Mother, everything you have been taught at school. The lots are a lie? You freeze in fear. Should you argue with Matilda or ask her for more information? Or should you treat her as a madwoman and catch up with your classmates? You suddenly feel a small, warm hand grasp your own. You see a girl right next to you. She is just a little older than you, wearing a black dress, threadbare yet almost spotless. Her hair is covered by a handkerchief with only a single golden lock showing. Her brown eyes are burning with rage, her hand pulling you away from the red-haired preacher. You stare in confusion at the strange young girl, your cheeks flushed by the sun touch. There's just a bit of color on her cheeks too, but then she starts speaking to you quickly. Don't listen to her, she's dangerous. Come to the temple with me, only there will you see the truth. You stand there surrounded by the crowd of praying pilgrims and the sounds of shuffling feet torn between two people you have never seen before, and each of them expects you to follow her. But all the while, you hear the whispering of the wind in the tree's branches. The branches reach out for you, almost as if the tree wishes to speak to you itself. Can you hear its voice? None of these really stick out to me. I think leave them and approach the tree, just for the willpower of it, to see what we can do with later options. The tree is beautiful. The silver-white foliage stretches and spreads towards the sky, held aloft by a trunk so thick it would be a challenge to walk around it. The leaves rustle and whisper peacefully in the wind. The tree seems to speak to you. You walk away from the odd-looking preacher and the young acolyte, ignoring them as they call out to you. You walk around the temple and the crowd of people, getting closer to the tree with every step. Then you extend a shaking hand and touch the bark. It is unusually warm. You can feel a pulse beneath the roots. The tree is alive. The roots are so gigantic they form large grottos, spaces of air embraced by the roots in the ground. You squeeze into one of these grottos. It is unusually bright and quiet, shielded from the noise of Anazat. Right now, there is only you and the tree. You sit down. There are leaves rustling all around you. The only noise you hear is the beating pulse of life that flows through the tree. And this pulse beats in time with your own heart. You feel clarity and calmness. Free of doubt and frustration, the tree speaks to you, or are they your own thoughts, so strange, unfamiliar, and eye-opening? These thoughts speak of soothing love, and of crystal clear law, and of love and law intertwining to bring the miracle of life to you. You stop slouching, and your frown becomes a light smile. Hours pass like fleeting seconds. You lose track of time until you overhear someone shouting your name. Alas, it is time to leave the grotto. The sun is setting over Anazat now. The day was quick to pass. Your teacher frowns, ready to scold you. You mumble an explanation and say you are ready to be punished for disobedience. Yet, instead, the teacher nods in understanding. You keep looking back at the tree all the way home. Whatever happened to you today, you find it difficult to put into words. We are full of power. Another school day has ended. You are making your way home, still mulling over the things you learned from your teachers: the founding of the empire, the eternal and unshakable rule of a single dynasty, the three states, each with its own rights. What an odd sort of order the world has, and yet so mysterious. At least it sounds that way when your teachers talk about it. Mother is waiting for you on the porch. She smiles gently when she sees you, and yet her expression still shows great concern. Father left on a trip to several distant modern towns a few days ago. Since then, Mother has been trying to tell you something, but she seems uncertain. Son, could you put your things away and come pray with me? You join Mother in a prayer to the twins. She prays with fervent sincerity, her head bowed low, reciting the words of obedience to them and their greater design in a barely audible whisper. You repeat after her, just as she has taught you ever since you were a little boy. When the prayer ends, Mother sighs and turns to you. Roman, my son, you are 13 now. You'll be grown soon. It's time you learned about certain things that are important to our family. Difficult things. It's about your father and me, about our marriage. You gaze curiously into Mother's eyes. I'm sure you've wondered about this before. Your father is a nobleman of the mantle, so how could he marry a commoner with another man's child? You see, Roman, your father, when his first wife, Amalia Elborn, died, it was a painful blow to him. He lost the will to live, lost all purpose. He felt like his own destiny was cut short that day as well. And then he met me. You know the troubles I had in the past. I went to the prefecture as a petitioner to ask them for help, protection, and justice. When I was a young girl, I worked at a small shop that sold crockery and dishes. A nobleman took a liking to me. May his name be forever forgotten. The twins know I was humble and honored, his lot to rule, but he took me by force. Mother falls silent, summoning the courage to continue. Gloria is that nobleman's daughter, but he was outraged. How could I have the gall to burden him with lowborn progeny? He turned me out on the street with that little baby girl in my arms. Mother's voice is shaking now. You take her hand tenderly. I had no home, no honor, nowhere to go, no one to help me. When I went to the prefecture, I didn't really think the judges would help me find justice against my former master. But when Sir Robert heard my plea, his eyes met mine, and I believe that at the very moment, the twins themselves granted him the gift of their love. Your father told me that there was nothing he could do to make that detestable nobleman marry me, but he would never abandon me and baby Gloria, and if I agreed, he would take me into his own home. Tears are running down Mother's cheeks. And I knew it, my son. I knew how much his honor and reputation would suffer. But caring for me brought him back to life. It's like he experienced another sacrament. He rediscovered his noble purpose, his lot to rule and protect and care for others. But his decision to marry me, he's still paying for it today. Your father had the courage to defy your grandfather, the father of his bloodline. If only you knew how much he had to endure, my son. If only you knew the despicable rumors we heard about the Brantes all over Anazat. It was only thanks to the efforts of Sir Gregor and the Brante bloodline managed to hang on to what little remained of its reputation. And now the noble families have all but forgotten about that scandal. Thank the twins. Mother falls silent. She looks at you intently. Do you understand what she is telling you? My son, I'm not telling you this just to share the pain of my past. I have no reason to complain. Even Sir Gregor has accepted me through gritted teeth. But you need to understand the heavy burden our family must bear, including our scandalous marriage and Gloria's foul origin. And Gloria, she can never be a Bronte. Even if the elder Brontes agreed, the news would stir up the old scandal in the minds of high society, and if that were to happen, Roman, they would see even your birth as illegitimate. Mother sighs heavily. What I told you just now is something you have to know, son. You are about to enter adult life. By my lot, I must be humble. I cannot tell you how to treat your family. But may I ask you a question? Now that you know of all this, do you still see Gloria as your sister? Of course, she's my sister. Filled with determination, you assure Mother that Gloria is, and will always be, your sister. You want Gloria to be a Brante too. You want her to be a part of your family. Who cares what the nobles of Anazoth say? Mother beams with quiet joy when she hears this. Oh, Roman, if only you knew how happy that would make me, to have our family united at last. However, the joy on her face quickly gives way to concern. But I already owe good Sir Robert a debt I can never repay. He's given my daughter so much. A home, an education, his care, and advice. The Brante bloodline could suffer so much from Gloria's existence. We should all just learn to accept her status as it is. Just then you hear Gloria carefully knock at the door of Mother's chambers. Mother, Roman, I couldn't find you. You happily greet your sister. Yes, she is your sister. No old secrets can ever change that. Mother gives you and Gloria a kiss on the forehead and returns to her prayers. You and your sister walk downstairs together. Mother is alone by her bedside now, thanking the twins with a quiet prayer for the Brante family they have given her. You hope they can hear her. You are 13 now. Another theology lesson. Today's sermon is about the priests and why the clergy is the only one of the 3 estates with the right to interpret the lots and guide the other 2 estates accordingly. Thomas sits next to you, huffing and puffing as he fervently writes down the teacher's every word. But you've heard all this from Mother many times before, so you take this moment to daydream a little. Father promised to take you to the capital once your studies are complete. But the teacher suddenly casts a stern look around the lecture hall and raises his voice at one of your classmates. A boy by the name of Brian jumps out of his seat. The teacher asks him to repeat what he had just said. Brian freezes and seems to shrink. He tries to muster a reply, but nothing comes out. The class becomes agitated. Someone is about to get punished. The teacher now looms over Brian. The boy's cheeks are flushed and his eyes are covered in tears. You all watch the teacher's iron-bound book as he raises it sharply about to strike. Brian shrieks and raises a hand in front of him. A sudden flash. The teacher screams and buries his arm in his face in his arms. His hair is ablaze and his skin is covered in horrible burns. It's magic, real magic, just like in the books about the Magra Rebellion. The class freezes in shock. There's a dull thud as the iron-bound book falls to the floor. Brian's hysterical laughter rends the silence. He stands up from his bench, fire in his eyes and sparks on his fingertips. There are screams now. Students run for the door. The teachers try to extinguish his burning hair. Brian snaps his fingers, and the Book of Isaiah on the desk turns into a pillar of flame. He laughs and raises his arm, and the curtains catch fire. The screams grow louder as the fire howls. Brian's face is tense and violent. His mouth is spewing flames, and his whole body is shaking with laughter. He steps toward the door. You and Thomas glance at each other. It's going to burn the whole school down. Your friend's determination makes you brave. You run behind Brian and knock him off his feet. You both tumble to the floor, even though his body sears your flesh. Brian screams, convulses, and grabs Thomas by the shoulders with his burning hands. Thomas howls but stays put, then knocks Brian senseless with several fierce blows to the head. S's, they're a problem. There are servants fussing around the room now. They put out the fire and take away the teacher, his body covered in horrible burns. You and Thomas remain next to Brian, who is lying on the floor, silent. Soon, 3 men in black cloaks enter the doors of the school, each bearing an edict sealed with silver. The Inquisition. You and Thomas are told to step away from the witch. They lock Brian's neck in a silver collar and take him away. One of the Inquisitors remains behind to tell the students what happened. That was magic, he explains. The ungodly power that twists the minds of men into savage instruments of murder. Only the sacred shackles of silver can help hold it at bay. Only the power of the twins can save us all from its evil grasp. The next day you are forbidden from ever mentioning Brian's name again. He is no more. What are our family relations? Alright, we've got sympathy with grandfather. Amalia, we never knew her. Very good relationship with our father and Gloria, and then sympathy from quite a few other people. Very nice. A great day looms ahead. 100 years ago, Uther Tempest was anointed to rule over the Empire. Blessed by the twins themselves, the Emperor's reign continues into its 2nd century. Celebrations in honor of the Tempest dynasty are held throughout the city, and the school is closed for 2 weeks because of that. On one of these evenings, Father tells everyone that Grandfather is going to bring back Stefan back home for the holiday. They say families should celebrate the day of anointment together. You get benefit from your elder brother's company. With his noble education, Stefan might be able to teach you how noblemen are supposed to act. Soon, Stefan arrives. He now handles himself differently. When it comes to ordering servants around and ignoring Gloria, he is still Grandfather's double, but he is more grown up now and far less haughty to you. It is a dark winter evening. A damp, cold wind sweeps through the city from the barren lands of Magra. You and Stefan are sitting in the library. He is telling you all about Eterna, the capital of the Empire. It is full of so many wonders. The Imperial Palace, the enormous Temple of the Twins, the Military Academy, the Imperial College. You have read so much about these places, yet he has seen them firsthand. Nathan enters the library. He looks concerned. I can't find Gloria. I looked everywhere. She's not in the attic, not in the sitting room, and not in the kitchen. I heard she wanted to sneak off to the ruins of Charmelanidas's palace. She could be lost in there. You and Stefan exchange looks. Carmelanidas, the rebellious duke. The ruins of his palace are a dangerous place. Some children claim his tainted magic still lingers there, which means you absolutely have to make your way there and back again to prove you are not afraid of the long-dead witch. Your brother tells you to wait. He leaves and soon returns with his sword in its sheath. Get ready, Roman. We're going to rescue Gloria. She must have gone to the ruins in search of inspiration for another one of her little rhymes. The two of you instruct Nathan to tell your parents you've gone for a walk in the square. You and your elder brother head outside. You're confused by Stefan's actions. He refuses to treat Gloria like a human being, so why is he still so determined to rescue her? Stefan notices your expression. Are you wondering why I care about Gloria all of a sudden? I can't act in any other way, can I? The law of honor compels me to protect my family. Gloria will never be a Brante, but Father still took her into our house. I must respect his seniority and defend Gloria like she is one of our own. You are a Brante too, noble or not, which means it is your duty to aid me. The ruins of Carmelanidas's palace span an entire district. The palace was abandoned centuries ago, and its remains are overgrown with thick underbrush. The ruined palace is empty, nothing but cold wind blowing over crumbling brickwork. Even the worst scum of the land steer clear of this place. You make your way through the ruins until you spot scattered sheets of paper covered in writing. Your sister's writing. You hear loud laughter coming from behind a dilapidated stone wall nearby. You pull yourself up to peer over it. Gloria is lying on the ground, face down, twitching and sobbing. A gaggle of drunk young thugs surround her, cackling and swinging their arms about. You hear their shouts. Look at the lass, sitting here rhyming words together. She thinks she's all noble, but don't you worry, you low-born tart. We're gonna teach you your place. Tart is the weirdest insult or taunt I have ever heard. Reading that felt wrong. That feels cartoonishly evil. One of the louts spits at Gloria as she lies there. Get away from her this instant, you bastards, or I'll spill your guts. They respond with mocking laughter. Stefan draws his sword. The street thugs recoil in fear, but they soon notice that he's only one armed man against many. They start reaching out for sticks and stones. Stay by my side, don't let them flank me. Stefan's hand shakes, but he looks ready for battle. He is outnumbered. For a moment, you hesitate. Perhaps it might be better to run for the nearby district and call for guards. The young thugs are already armed with makeshift weapons. They start approaching you and Stephen cautiously. I think we'll defend Stephen. All we had to do was not have bad blood with Stefan. Alright. Stefan's voice fills you with confidence. You follow your noble brother's orders. It takes a moment to grab a stick, and then you are at Stefan's back, angrily swinging at the louts as they try to bring him down. One of the louts lunges at your brother with a stone, but you hit him with the stick, and he falls down right at Stefan's feet. His sword flashes, the blade sinks deep into the young man's stomach. He wheezes, blood starts pouring onto the ground. The thugs freeze. Stefan pulls the sword out, his face an inscrutable mask, and returns to his fighting stance. You are stunned to see Stefan take another man's life so easily and effortlessly, like picking his own teeth. The thugs look like they are about to flee. There is rage and confusion on their faces. They never expected the young nobleman to use that sword. Stefan just scoffs at them. Low-born scum, that's all you are. This is the only language you understand. Good job, brother. Gloria, get up. We're going home. He turns to glance at your sister, giving the enraged thugs just enough time to rush you. You get separated from Stefan, your back is against the wall now. They hit you hard in the stomach, then the face, then the side of the head. Then your mind slips away. When the darkness disperses, you find yourself lying in your bed. Stefan is in the armchair next to you reading a book. He's alive, with left arm in a sling and a black eye, but still alive. Your head is spinning and you feel nauseous. You try your best to sit up. Stefan looks up from the book. Don't try to get up. You lost a lot of blood. Suppose that was a few thugs too many for a single warrior, even with good backup. I'm impressed. We fought like an army. The noble orders, the commoner obeys, all according to our lots. We defended the family's honor together, you know, brother. The nobleman's lot is also a great burden that few are able to bear. It takes courage, not to fight everything you see, but to do your duty. Each and every decision a nobleman makes becomes a part of his family's legacy, flowing in the blood tide forever. I think about it often. A noble mustn't act weak. A noble mustn't suffer like people of the lowborn lot. A noble must rule over them wisely. A noble must ensure that they have work to do. It's not merely your own lot that you have to look after. You have to ensure that 1,000 others can live by their lot as well. And there are so many more matters to take care of. Honor, dignity, tradition. It's tough, but what it takes to be a nobleman. Do you understand what I'm talking about? There's approval in your brother's eyes, for the first time in a long while. It was a pleasure to fight side by side, brother. Before long, the entire city hears how a gang of lowborn thugs assaulted Stefan Brante. Grandfather assures that the brash young men are found. Some of them are taken into custody as soon as Lesser Deaths releases them. Grandfather seeks vengeance on those who hurt his favorite grandson. Prefect Elborn, a friend of your family, promises to personally oversee the trial and ensure that justice is served. That feels like a conflict of interests. That feels conflictual. Stefan and Grandfather decide to stay in Amazon until the trial ends. Grandfather demands true death for every single assailant. You ask Father to explain something. How can a legal court sentence criminals to true death? How can worldly judgment overrule the twins' law? Your words are true, my son. Their law is second to none, yet the twin gods also made the empire and all its ways. The court of law exists to execute the laws of heaven here in the world. Should the court of law sentence a person to death, the law high above will always enforce it, and so every execution brings true death. The commoners who assaulted Stefan, a born nobleman, have committed a grave offense. There is no doubt about that. And yet, according to the Emperor's decree, even commoners have the right to defend themselves when they are about to face true death. That means that all of us will have to appear at the trial and testify before the court. Evening comes. Gloria visits your room. She looks crestfallen, and her fingers keep reaching for her long hair. You put away your school books and ask what is bothering her. Trial's tomorrow. I thought I was going to appear there too, as an eyewitness. After all, this whole mess started because of me, but Sir Robert isn't even going to mention that I was there. Can you imagine? He says it would ruin the case. Why am I always in the way? Nobody ever mentions me. Nobody has to listen to me. It's like I don't even exist. And I thought stepping up for me finally meant something. Maybe I'll become a part of the family. But no, everything is back to usual now. Gloria tries her best to hold back the tears. You do your best to comfort her. Father just needs to keep the family out of trouble. If Sir Robert believes that I only bring trouble, why did he take me into the house at all? Gloria runs away. You return to your books, but you can't help but get lost in thought. What if they told the court you weren't there either? How would you feel then? There's a knock at the door. It is Father. He closes the door behind him and sits next to you. There is an exhausted look about him. Son, will you be testifying before the court tomorrow? Please remember what I'm about to tell you. Gloria wasn't at the ruins at all. You went there with your brother to inspect this historic site. The low-born men insulted Stefan first and then attacked him. Stefan had managed to deal with the assailants on his own by the time the guards intervened. Gloria will cast suspicion on the case. If we mention her very existence to the court, the reputation of the family will suffer. Your grandfather will never forgive me if that happens. Don't let me down. We're all counting on you. You recall the night of the fight like it was a moment ago. Gloria sprawled under the feet of those cackling thugs, her poetry, her greatest treasure, scattered on the ground. She thinks she's all noble. Those were the words they spat down at her. But doesn't grandfather mean the same thing when he denies that she's a part of the family? But if you do what father tells you, the trial will end quickly. Those commoners will face true death for assaulting a nobleman. If you mention Gloria, things will get complicated and you cannot predict how the trial will end. Which is more important to you? What is right or what is just? It's a lot of good options. It's a lot of good stuff right there. I feel like it's important to keep grandfather at least a little happy for now. I don't want to be a dick to Gloria, though. If we keep the family reputation, we might be able to change things in the future and make it better for more people than just our one sister. I think we gotta support father in this. Family unity is gonna go down. You nod in agreement. You will follow the family's plan for the trial to the letter. A faint smile appears on father's fatigued face. There's a lot of alliteration in these. Thank you, son. This is an important case for our family and for me as well. I appreciate your support. The day comes. The trial takes place in the lesser hall of the city prefecture. Sir Elborn himself presides as the judge. You are seated next to father and Stefan. You testify to the court one after another. You echo your brother's testimony to the letter. The young commoners insulted you as you were both walking by the ruins. Then they assaulted you. Stefan defended you. The lives of the four thugs are forfeit. Sir Elborn rises to deliver the sentence. The court of Anazot judges you guilty of assaulting Stefan Brante, a nobleman. All four defendants are sentenced to true death by hanging. There is no wind, but you feel a gust sweep through the hall. The defendants turn pale. Their mothers are bawling and crying. Everybody in the court feels the dreadful power of the law, and it is stern and just. The very power has been invoked by this sentence, and by that very sentence, the lives of the four young men are literally forfeit for all eternity. The gallows await. Stefan and grandfather stand in the front row. The wood creaks. The trapdoors open under the young men's feet. They dangle in the air, wheezing and reaching out for support with their feet in their final moments. Father lets out an inaudible sigh of relief. It is all over now. When Gloria comes back home the day after, she refuses to eat dinner and locks herself in her room. Before she leaves, however, you notice a scratch on her face and her hair is disheveled. You go to her room and knock at the door, but she will not open. Then she finally replies, "She has already gone to bed, and you should leave." Did you do the right thing during the trial? Your sister is still being bullied. No one knows she has a family to defend her, and Gloria does not want to be defended now. Those four commoners saw no mercy. Their lives ended for assaulting a nobleman. What did you seek to prove with this, and to whom? Was it worth it in the end? Oh my god, we're only 14? How long is... This is the longest year of my guy's life. Stefan leaves soon after the trial, alone. Grandfather does not go with him. For the first time in a long while, he lingers in the house for more than a fortnight. Father says Gregor is ill and needs rest. Several months go by and it becomes clear that grandfather will not recover. Eldest Brante is mostly bedridden now. On some days he has trouble recognizing people. When he means to address you or Nathan, he calls you Robert, your father's name. But when he gets out of the bed, the house grows empty. The servants hide, Mother locks herself in her chambers, you and Nathan run outside or hide quietly in your rooms. If grandfather sees anyone in the hallway, he begins lamenting. Oh, nobody heeds the lots any longer. Any harlot with a child can marry a nobleman these days. Children have no respect. His son betrayed him and let him down. And oh, how the Brante family has lost its honor. Again and again you hear grandfather knocking at Mother's door, screaming that it is all her fault. He blames her for ruining his chances to find bliss in the hereafter. He blames her for dooming him to suffer at the foot of the pillar. You overhear your parents talking one night. Mother begs father to move Sir Gregor to his old home and spare the children his decline. Father refuses her outright. It is late at night, the hot, dry winds are coming. The house is empty save for you, Nathan, Gloria, Mother, and grandfather in his bed. Father has left for the capital on business. You are engrossed in the history of the Empire, snapping out of your reverie only when the clock strikes midnight. You blow out the candle and get ready for bed. You hear the shuffling of heavy feet outside your door. You see light in the hallway. Grandfather, what could he want in the middle of the night? You peek into the hallway once he is past. Grandfather's figure sways as he heads for the door to Mother's chamber. He opens the door and walks in. You hear him saying something quietly. Your unease is stronger than your fear now. You sneak closer to hear his words. You foul commoner. I have to cleanse my sins. I have to save my soul. You are my greatest sin. You and what you have done to Robert and this family. I should have put a stop to this marriage. I should have stopped Robert from tainting this house by your presence. Why didn't I do it? Please, Sir Brante, I beg of you. Silence. You will do my bidding. Fire will cleanse all lowborn filth from this place. Fire, and flame will free Robert from this disgrace. This is for my son's sake, for my sake. And to eradicate this lowborn filth, the twins, they are calling for me now. I can feel it. I beg of you, please have mercy. Mother begins to cry. You run into the room, unable to stay out of this any longer. Grandfather's gaunt figure looms over Mother's bed, a lit oil lamp in his hand. Mother is sprawled out on the bed, crying. Please, just let me warn the children. I beg of you, Sir Brante. Your steps are loud enough to be heard. Grandfather turns to look at you. Stay out of this room and be useful for once. Worldly matters concern me no longer. I see only my sins now, and a sinner I am, a sinner. The twins, they forgive no one. They will judge me by the pillar. I must do something. I don't want to suffer for all eternity. Go away! Mother is crying. Grandfather is still looming over the bed, driven to madness. His hand shakes as it clutches the oil lamp. No, not using that one. His eyes shine in the dark. He truly believes that this has to be done. You are suddenly torn. What if he is right? What if that is the only way for his soul to find salvation? There is no going back now. You have but a moment to act. So no matter what, Gregor definitely dies. This one takes me with him. I'm not doing that one at all. Something feels wrong about this one. I don't know what it is. I know it's weird to say that, but something feels wrong about taking this option. But I'm going to, because fuck Gregor. You look at Grandfather defiantly and step towards him. He stares at you down with rage and throws the oil lamp at the floor. You manage to catch it, but just barely. Several drops of hot oil hit the rug, not nearly enough to start a fire. The lamp's glass is blistering hot. It burns your hands, but you still hold on to it safely. You low-born scum, you ruined everything. You're every bit like your mother. You. Enraged, he takes a swing and you squeeze your eyes shut. But he does not hit you. Instead, there is a deep exhalation. You peek at him with one eye, just in time to see him collapse, all his strength fading away. His chest is heaving, his face a grimace of contempt. Another heavy exhalation, the contempt is gone. There is only fear now. Grandfather's eyes open wide, almost in surprise, he exhales. His eyes grow dim. Mother is there whispering a prayer. She is shaking violently. You put the oil lamp gently on the bedside table and call for the servants. They carry the body away. It does not disappear. True death has found him. He will never return. You spend the rest of the night with Mother in the sitting room. She will not let go of your hand. For many, many nights afterwards, she keeps seeing Grandfather's shadow out of the corner of her eye. Father returns from Eterna the morning after. He is unusually composed as he arranges for the funeral. The house becomes quiet, not the looming, heavy sort of quiet of the past few months, but the calm relief you all feel now that the crazed old man is no more. At last, Gregor Brante, the family's patriarch, has departed for the hereafter. Your grandfather, Sir Gregor Brante, left this world forever to meet the twin gods. The night of Grandfather's death shook your family to the core, yet no matter how it happened, your grandfather, Gregor Brante, is dead and will never return. He was a fearful shadow looming over the rest of the family, the Brante patriarch exerting his influence on all the lives below him, and all of you will remember him forever. Father is the new patriarch of the family now, yet he still cannot bring himself to sit at the head of the table where Sir Gregor used to preside. Stefan locks himself away in Grandfather's bedroom every day. He will not talk to anyone. Gloria and Nathan still jump at every sound that so much resembles the knocking of his walking stick. Mother spends all day in prayer at the temple. And yet the house has become calm and quiet with his passing. There is one more thing that must be done. The final farewell. It weighs heavily upon your soul. The day comes to pay your final respects. Father goes to the tomb alone, save for Stefan, Nathan, and you. Mother and Gloria stay at home. Only nobles or those who may become nobles may join this ritual. There is a solemn silence as you walk into the crypt. Father is the one who breaks the silence when you finally reach the door to the family crypt. Your grandfather built this crypt, and now he will be the first Brante to remain here in body forever. The first ever noble in our family. It is our duty now to hold to the sacrament of flowing blood for Sir Gregor. We will honor his legacy and join him as the founder of the noble Brante dynasty. Stefan perks up at Father's words. His hands still clutch Grandfather's sword. Tradition decrees that it must remain in the niche above the owner's sarcophagus. Nathan, on the other hand, looks even more frightened now. Stairs carved of white stone lead you downward. Deep in the gloom of the crypt, atop a pedestal, you see the sarcophagus that holds Grandfather's body. Father takes a moment to compose himself before paying his final respects. Gregor Brante, my father, brought our family into nobility through his unshakable will. He was a judge and a loyal servant to the empire. He lived his life as if he had been born a noble, and he never strayed from the path he had chosen. He sought to make the Brante family ennobled by the sword so that our children's children might be of noble birth. The twins know I abided by my father's words all my life, even if I could not obey him every time. Father lets out a bitter chuckle as he says this. Stefan glares at Father, then returns to glare at Nathan and you. After all, the two of you were born of Father's shameful decision to marry a commoner. All of you remember his disastrous passing. He did not die the true death he deserved. Yet we all must know that he fought for the future he believed in to the very end, and he would be proud to see his family bid him farewell with the sacrament of the nobility. Stefan still glares at Father sullenly. His fingers remain clutched around Grandfather's sword. Nathan barely pays attention to the words. He looks around with unease, his arms folded across his chest. Father reaches into his jacket and pulls out a slender dagger, thin and sharp. He takes off his gloves. Watch me carefully, my sons. Make a small cut on the palm of your hand and let your blood flow into this duct on the wall of the crypt. It will join your grandfather's blood here and flow forever. Then ancestor and progeny will become as one. We shall enter our family's blood tide and receive grandfather's final blessing. For his blood flows first in our blood tide. He will respond to you. You are part of him and he is part of you. With a quick motion, Father slices his hand and holds the bleeding cut above a small opening in the wall. Then he hands the dagger to Stefan. Stefan cuts his hand without hesitation and does as Father did. You receive the dagger next. The dagger's handle feels warm. You hesitate for a moment as you look at the palm of your hand. If you participate in this ritual, you will enter the Brante blood tide. You, a lowborn child, a child who is still a commoner. Are you ready to claim your legacy as a descendant of the nobleman Gregor Brante? The eyes of your father and brothers are upon you. Nathan, the youngest brother, will follow your example. You can be certain of this. I feel like the blood tide is going to be important for something. But I really want Nathan to be proud of his big brother. We'll make it up to him. Next chance we get, we'll spend a little bit more time with Nathan. Ask for grandfather's blessing. You grasp the dagger firmly, then quickly drag the blade across your palm. The fresh wound burns on your hand. Yet before you allow your blood to join the blood of your father and elder brother, you ask your late grandfather aloud. Will you give his blessing to become a part of him? Will he allow you to join the Brante blood tide? You hear Stefan's indignant sigh. He does not say a word, however. Your words are a token of respect for grandfather and his will. Should you obtain his blessing, Stefan will not defy the late Brante patriarch. Then suddenly you all freeze. Each of you hears your late grandfather speak to you. His voice is loud as it rings in the depths of the crypt, and yet he speaks to each of you separately. You had the courage. You had the courage to ask me for my blessing. Well, so be it. You deserve an answer. To me, you are not incorrigible, you are half lowborn, yet you may make a worthy nobleman one day. I shall allow you to join my blood tide. But know this, I will be watching you always, and my shadow will follow you ever. Do not let me down, boy. Grandfather's voice falls silent. You glance at your father and brothers astonished. Save for Stefan, everyone else is dumbfounded as well. You have grandfather's blessing. You hold your hand above the opening in the wall. Your blood drips into the duct and flows further into the crypt as it combines with the blood of your father and brother. Nathan's turn comes, your younger brother hesitates. Father offers him help, but Nathan shakes his head. Finally, he makes a cut, and Nathan's blood mixes with yours in the duct of the crypt. The ritual is complete. Stefan reverently kisses the grip of grandfather's sword and places it in the alcove above the sarcophagus. Once all is done, you leave the crypt together. Cool, fresh wind blows on your face as you return to the surface. Father stops halfway to the carriage and hugs Nathan and you briefly. Now your blood belongs to the dynasty of Sir Gregor Brante as well. Can I just say, this is the longest, and I mean longest, 2 years of anybody's life I've heard of for a while. Okay. So blood tide, I needed to either do the nobleman's sacrament or participate in the ritual. Huh. That feels like it might have been the bad decision, if grandfather's going to be with me always now. I would rather not have that old coot. Grandfather's passing and last respects have left a mark on the entire family. His words relayed from the hereafter keep echoing in your mind. You still do your best to avoid the memory of grandfather's last night and spend more time on the city streets with Thomas and your other classmates. Sorry about that, just need to get a drink of water. Oh, I hope that didn't catch on mic. That would be embarrassing. But the road by the house reminds you of another clash with death. Sometimes as you walk along the road, you recall Sophia, the beautiful girl with the wonderful eyes and the terrifying thundering hooves. You have not seen Sophia since that fateful day. The children who live nearby say her parents sent her to a rich Arcanian family, the Antons, as a servant. The sun has set, the pillar shines palely in the dark sky. Thomas is ill, so you decide to visit him and tell him the latest news. The streets seem oddly agitated tonight, and full of horses, cloaked men, strange faces, and hushed voices. A young nobleman in a heavy embroidered cloak is still walking back and forth, clutching at his sword nervously. There is a grimace of rage on his delicate blue face. He is an Archnean. You overhear voices. Sir Otten, the girl's not at home. We searched the house. Her parents swear she ran away from home too. They claimed they wanted to bring her back. Do whatever it takes. Turn this loathsome district upside down if you must, but bring my servant back to me. She's here. Sophia ran away from an Archnean? How can this be? There's only one place on the entire street where a person could hide. The abandoned Moral House, four houses away from yours. You head there, doing your best not to attract attention. The lopsided house, built of yellow brick, has been abandoned for 20 years or so. You remember playing there as a boy. You glimpse a figure inside even before you enter. A pair of eyes glimmer in the dark. You would recognize them even after another 4 years. Sophia's grown up. She is almost an adult now, and her face is full of fear. She's not the easygoing girl next door that you remember. She finally recognizes you. Oh, it's you, Roman. Be quiet. They're all looking for me. I ran away from the youngest Otten. I might be in for a lesser death here, but I'd rather die than spend another day in their slavery. I'm just a thing to him, just a toy to play with. Sophia winces and closes her mouth as she says this. There's a glint of bright yellow deep in her eyes. I ran to my parents. I told them all about the men I had to serve, and they went and alerted the Ottens. They don't want to be the target of their ire, but you aren't going to tip them off, are you? The barking and shouting are getting closer. Sophia's voice grows quiet, and she runs off to the darkest corner of the house before you can answer. One of Otten's servants is so close you can hear his cloak swishing against the ground. He notices something and calls for the others. There are more voices around you now. They approach the house from the yard and surround it. One of them seems particularly snappy, annoyed, and impatient. You have already heard this voice today. If you're in there, girl, you'd be wise to come out and quit wasting my time. All will be forgiven, and you will go back where you were. You know it. And if you don't, I'll drag you out by the hair. The hilt of the young Archnean's sword bashes at the door. He is about to lose his patience for good. Sophia hugs the wall in the dark, trying to stay still. She glances at you. What will you do? Your heart is racing. Can you act out against the Archnean's orders? Do you have the gall to defy the mighty nobleman? I don't have the ingenuity for it. Oh, that is deeply hide alone. Try to stop Otten. It doesn't have any negative effects for family, and matters of the heart with Sophia. I'm always a fan of childhood love stories. I think Sophie is gonna be best girl in this one. You pull yourself together and walk slowly to the half-collapsed doorway. Sophia stays behind. The tall young Archnean stares you down with his condescending smile dripping with scorn. In your most assertive voice, you answer his question. He will find no fugitives girl in this house. What are you doing here, boy? I wasn't speaking to you. Out of my way. Otten needs no permission to enter, so he steps inside. You stand in his way. You have already assured the young Archnean there is no one else inside. You've done him a great service. What makes him doubt your words? Why, you lowlife, how dare you stand in an Archnean's way? You must have lives to spare. I do not. I'm on death number 3 if I die here. Otten backhands you with immense strength, enough to send you flying. The Archnean draws his sword. It rises into the air. But then one of his men shouts, "So, there she is." The Archnean turns around and briskly walks away. Sophia used your distraction to climb out the window at the back. You jump to your feet and escape the house in the same way. Sophia's slight silhouette is gaining distance far ahead. One of Otten's men is chasing her down, ready to catch her at any moment. But then something unbelievable happens. Sophia lets out a dreadful scream, and the air around her sizzles with golden sparks. Otten's man falls to the ground, clutching his head. Sophia freezes for a second, as though uncertain of what she did. What was that? Otten screams at her right next to you. So that's how it is, eh? The wench is a witch. Seize her! Magic? Sophia's a witch? Oh, she's so best girl. Sophia's silhouette disappears down an alleyway. An's men give her chase, but they will never find her in the dark, sprawling district. You watch her go. Will you ever see her again? The runaway girl becomes the talk of your district for an entire week. You overhear that Sophia managed to flee the city. The Uns are furious. After this sudden disappearance, she disappears from your life once more. You will not see her again until much, much later. Aw, first romantic feelings. That's nice. That's nice. Oh my god, please tell me another year passes. Oh, thank god. We're on the final year of this chapter. Oh, I couldn't be happier. I've been recording for well over an hour now. My voice is getting tired. You are about to turn 15, just one step away from adulthood. Mother is acting anxious at dinner today, barely touching our food. You exchange glances with Gloria. She carefully tells you that she wants to go to the tailor. Mother shudders and her hands clench into fists. I'm gonna grab some water for a moment. No, don't you dare leave home today. I forbid it. That dirty heretic Fotis is preaching his lies under the silver tree today. Twins willing, I don't want you to hear any of that. You and Gloria glance at each other again. Fotis, he's a patriarch, the head of the clergy throughout the entire province. That is the first time you've heard your mother speak like this about a priest, especially such a high-ranking one. Once you leave the dinner table, Gloria comes to your room with a cunning expression on her face, like she's about to play a trick on someone. She has a plan. The two of you should sneak out of the house and go to the SILVERTRE. You simply must hear the sermon for yourself. What's so bad about Patriarch Fotis? Why does Mother hate him so much? You two are grown-ups now. Surely you have the right to know. You agree with your sister. Together you sneak out from under your mother's watchful eye and hurry to the SILVERTRE. The temple block is full of people from all ranks and estate. There's barely enough room for you to squeeze through the crowd. The crowd is gathered around the very roots of the tree. Gloria suggests that you climb up to the roof of a nearby building so you can hear and see everything better. And not a moment too soon. From the roof you see a tall, silver-haired priest step onto the platform by the tree, dressed in the common black robe that looks far beneath his rank. Yet he stands like a noble before the crowd. Behind his back is a banner flipping in the wind, the open book. This is the symbol of the new faith. The crowd whispers. The patriarch holds his hands up to the sky and the entire temple block grows quiet. He begins his sermon, his vibrant voice rolling across the square. Fotis speaks of a great mistake. We entrusted ourselves to the lots as the only way to fulfill divine providence in this world. But for all these years, the will of the twins has been interpreted for us by a single man, Prophet Isaicius. The twins are ever watching from atop the shining pillar. Of this we have no doubt. But how can we so blindly believe that we truly follow their will by following the lots? Have we not seen the 3 lots of Isaicius fail again and again to answer the question of how we ought to live our lives? Have we not seen people change their lot in life again and again without being smitten by divine wrath? Every person born, whether human or Arcanian, lowborn or noble, must find their lot and their way to their gods on their own. From now on we will seek the gods in accounts of their own lives, in their own acts in this world, and in their own words as they echo within us. And as we heed the voice of the twins within, we will each find their path for us on our own. Alright, so we've got the Protestant Reformation going on. The crowd at the SILVERTRE listens to the patriarch's speech in stunned silence. You glance at your sister. Her eyes glisten with tears as she hears Fotis' words. Then suddenly a hoarse cry rises from the crowd. If there are no lots, does that mean the nobles are going to till the fields, and the commoners are going to bear arms? The crowd begins to murmur. The patriarch raises an arm and inhales, ready to answer. An odd figure leaps from the crowd onto the platform, a dirty beggar dressed in rags. A knife flashes in his hand. The blade slices. Blood starts spurting from Fotis' throat. He slumps over and collapses. A dark brown puddle spreads across the platform where he had stood. Gloria clutches her mouth to suppress a shriek. A few moments of stunned silence, and then the screams begin. The people are frantic. The temple guards try to restore order in the crowd, but to no avail. An old woman dressed in an inquisitor's cassock tries in vain to apply pressure to the patriarch's wounds. The nobles dry their swords, dogs are barking, the crowd is pushing and shoving, children are crying. The entire square by the tree is in chaos. From the roof, you see the moment when people are trampling each other, howling, praying, shouting. Gloria tugs on your sleeve. Time to go. You climb down from the roof and run. You return home without exchanging a word. Mother has been in her room all the while, so no one noticed your absence. Gloria locks herself in her room. You do not discuss the things you have just seen. They are too frightening. But your parents discuss every detail of the bloodstained sermon over dinner. This is unbelievable. A patriarch murdered in plain sight. The gendarmes and the Archduke's guards have searched every corner of the slums, and the murderous beggar has disappeared without a trace. I can't even imagine a more gruesome crime. Fotis has died a true death, never to return from the hereafter. But how? Why can't the patriarch be reborn? He's so close to the twins. Such is the way of the world, my children. Once you are granted great power by the twins' will, there is no hope for you to come back, not even after the first of your deaths. Emperors, their powerful vassals, heads of great Archnean dynasties, patriarchs of the church, none of them are destined to be reborn. Fotis is gone forever. I fear for his soul. It was lost in doubt. Will the twins accept him upon the peak of the pillar? We must pray for the patriarch, children. Let us hope he managed to return to the true old faith before the moment of his passing. But there is little hope for that. Tomorrow you turn 16. According to imperial law, you will be a full adult. Your time at Sir Tibor's school has ended. You have studied enough to apply for the Imperial College and learn the judge's trade there. You are to travel to Eterna tomorrow. Your friends Thomas will go there with you to try his friend in the Imperial capital. Mother and father prepare you for the long journey. Remember, son, there is only one goal for you. You must become a student at the Imperial College. Your teachers dragged you through all the books for a reason. You have the knowledge and fervor to be ennobled by the mantle as I was, as my late father was before me, and who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one to write the name Brante in the Blue Book and ensure that your children's children will be noble by birth. Then Mother speaks to you carefully. There's worry in her eyes. But Robert, there may be another path for our son. Stefan, your firstborn, was born a noble. He will surely earn the title for the entire Brante family. Your second son bears the favor of the twins. For him, the path of the priest is a worthy calling, no less than a nobleman's sword. They have been arguing about your future for a while now. Still, she would never defy the will of a nobleman and her husband. You smile at them both, trying to placate them. Gloria laughs quietly behind their backs. Just don't become a snoot like Stefan, and you'll do just fine. Mother chides Gloria for that. You wink at your sister. Nathan has been downcast all evening. He barely touched his dinner. When everyone gets up from the table, he suddenly rushes over to embrace you. Please don't go, Roman. Can't you stay? I don't know what I'm going to do without you. You tussle his hair in response. There's no way you can stay now, you say. But when you come home, and you will come home, you'll tell him all your stories, and bring him a special present from Eterna. This is it. All your lessons have been learned, all your things have been packed for the road. You will leave the family home tomorrow. Tonight is your last night at home before your departure. You walk through the rooms one last time. The sitting room, where Mother used to read your fairy tales. The library, where Gloria used to spend all her time. Father's study, which you entered only on special occasions. The backyard, where you taught Nathan to build towers one summer. The whole place feels so familiar, so dear to you. It feels like home. You lived here for 16 years. Will you ever return? It is getting late. Everyone is already in their rooms, but you hesitate. Mother, father, Gloria, Nathan. It will be a long time before you see them again. Who will you spend your last few hours at home? Oh my goodness, that's a huge boost to nobility. What? But I promised Nathan. We'll spend more time together. Nathan is already in bed, snoring. You approach your brother quietly and pat him on the head. He is startled, but starts smiling with joy when he realizes it's you. Hi, can we go outside? I need your help with something. You creep silently downstairs. The air outside is damp and drops of dew glisten in the night. Nathan drags you towards the bushes. A spotted kitten looks at you from the bushes with sad eyes. You see a bowl of water and some scraps of food next to it. Look, he ran into our yard today. See, he's got a broken paw. We need to save the poor kitten. You pat Nathan on the head. Together you sneak the poor animal into the house and take him to the storage closet. Then you close the closet door and begin the treatment. If anyone is clumsy in your family, it is Nathan. Yet his hands are unusually accurate and calm as he binds the kitten's paw. You start chatting as you treat the kitten. As you think out loud about living in the capital and working towards your goal, Nathan strokes the poor animal's wet fur. He sighs. It's tough for me, thinking about being a grown-up. I'm not much of anything even now. I wish I could be like you. You sure know where you're going and who you're going to be. You shrug. No, I mean it. It can't be like that. They say I'm going to study too and go to Eterna and become a priest or go to the college. But there's no way I can make it there. Does that mean there's nothing out there for me? You'll be leaving soon. I'll be all alone here. You'll write to me. I know you will. And you'll come back one day. But I'm scared. I'm scared I might lose my way when you're not around. You'll come back, but it'll be different. You'll be different. I'll be different too. You swear to Nathan that if everything changes, you will always be his brother. You will always be there to offer him advice and support, and you have no doubt that he will find his way in life. It just takes time to find yourself. Sometimes more than you might expect. The sun is about to rise. You should rest before the long trip, but you're not tired at all. Nevertheless, it is time for bed. Before you leave, Nathan hugs you again. Please promise you'll come back, Roman. You swear to him that you will. You get into bed and fade away into a gentle, happy sleep. They will be waiting for you back here, no matter what. Full of power. You leave the family home for a long time. Your future awaits the capital of the empire. Last night was your final night at home. The carriage is now waiting at the gate, ready to take you to the capital. The clip-clopping of the idle hooves against the cobblestones count the seconds before your departure. You take one more look at your parents' house and recall your childhood spent there in the nearby yards, at your school, and on the winding streets of Anazat. You clashed with the greater world around you and survived. You felt the tingle of your emotions for the first time. You were taught by the school and the streets. You explored the city of your birth and learned something of its past. You witnessed first-hand events that will be remembered by history for all time. All of this is yours now, forever. You saw death, lesser death followed by rebirth, and the true death that takes and never gives back. You saw death lying in wait to strike the unaware, like a beast stalking its prey. You saw grandfather's angry grimace lit by the flickering fire of the lamp, the Archduke's cavalry trampling those who stood in their way, and your older brother's bloodied sword slicing through the air. Death has followed you from a very young age, and yet you live on. You have a friend who has been by your side all these years. Thomas taught you many things: how to take a hit, how to keep your word, and how to remain true to your own self. And now Thomas is walking to the same carriage as you with a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. Your friend will remain your companion for the time being. Ahead of you is a long trip towards the capital in adulthood. For the first time, you will be away from your family and home. What awaits you in the future? So we saved Sophia, saw Stefan's disgrace, entered the blood tide, and experienced matters of the heart. Personality, we were dignified, bright, a little spiritually mundane. And we died one more time. And that is the end of Adolescence for Sir Roman Brante. This is where we're going to end off the episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to create a playlist so that you guys can listen to this, hopefully as maybe a kind of audiobook. There are many branching paths I think we're about to get where it really starts to differentiate. So I hope you guys pick up this game. Tell me about the path you guys took. I would love to hear it because This game does take me a it'll take a moment to rerun through and see all the different things I can see, but I've truly been enjoying this. I hope you guys have as well. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the sellout stuff, and I hope to see you guys next time. Have a good night.